Okay, so for the past, I'd say 2 years or so, we've been working towards bringing together an increased range of skills products into a much more simpler, more streamlined campaign. So you'll probably remember the Fire It Up apprenticeships campaign that we ran up until 2022, and the T-levels campaign that we introduced, and we last did TV for Fire It Up back in, I think it was 2018, 2019. Since then, we've taken more of an audience-based approach, and we've used Get the Jump for young people, Unlock Your Potential for adults, and Join the Skills Revolution for SME employers, all under the Skills for Life banner. And we also use the Plan for Jobs overarching government campaign brand as well. In 2023, the beginning of 2023, we brought those audience strands together and created a more visually coherent look across the campaign, across the whole of Skills for Life. And then brand new for 2024, we have just launched a new unified approach to run across the three audiences. And this was mainly driven not only to make the user journey easier for all users, so for adults, young people and employers, but it also meant there was greater streamline and greater consolidation and requests for efficiencies from Cabinet Office and Number 10. So, for example, it means we don't have to create 3 separate stakeholder toolkits for 3 different audiences. We can create one, so reducing duplication. So, as I said, the new Skills for Life campaign started on the 4th of January, and the current burst ends on the 31st of March, with some channels continuing beyond that point. So it's called It All Starts with Skills, and it builds upon the powerful idea that skills help people make the most of their potential. And it promotes the range of education, training and skills offers available across England. So we'll also take a look at the new Skills for Careers website, and we'll explore this later with Sophie. So next slide, please. So there's a shared ambition to create a much more simpler system. So the campaign development hasn't happened in isolation. So the rest of the system is also on a simplification journey. We've been working really closely with colleagues across the National Careers Service, across our policy teams and across our digital teams. The campaign can clearly point people towards the trusted source of information, but it needed to be in one place, and we didn't have that previously. We had lots of different websites that were policy websites. So we had an apprenticeships website, a T-levels website, etc. So under this new campaign, as part of Skills for Life and Skills for Careers, we brought everything together. That's not to say everything is currently perfect. There's a lot of work to do on those websites, and we currently can't track customers on an end-to-end journey. We know there are lots of other influencing factors that shape decision making and journeys beyond the communications aspect. We know the end-to-end journey isn't linear, and it can be protracted and quite complex. Next slide, please. So to set up the role for a campaign, what we are aiming to do is get more employers, adults and young people to take their first steps towards taking up government skills and technical education offers, and by creating a strong emotional pull and increasing knowledge of the options. And what we want to do with the advertising is unlock the power of emotion, because we know that's what makes advertising more memorable and provides a reason why for more rationale messaging. So people are much more likely to pay attention and take action and make sense of it if they connect with it emotionally. Next slide, please. So that emotional pull is skills make the most of your potential. So we found that with potential, everyone has potential, whether it's a young person just starting out on their career journey and working out what options they have available to them, whether it's an adult who's looking to upskill or reskill and change careers or re-enter the workforce, or an employer with business with potential to grow or develop their business much further and expand. And we found this concept of potential resonates equally well for all three target audiences. Next slide, please. So I won't go into too much detail on this, but you can see there has been a lot of research, independent research last year that kicked off in May. We did one round and then we did a further round in June just to get the concept absolutely right. We did focus groups, we did in-depth online interviews, and we also did online panels for young people. And potential one out has been that relevant and engaging concept for all audiences, and it all starts with skills because that is the starting place. It is quite a broad and generic concept though, so we needed a creative idea to bring that to life. More on that in a moment with Claire. Next slide, please. So you'll see we use this slide quite a lot in our toolkits and things, and this is our media and messaging grid. But essentially there are three parts to the campaign. There's the large motivate strand, which is the large broad reach brand building activity, promoting the Skills for Life brand with It All Starts for Skills strapline, and that's featured in national channels, big channels like TV, cinema, out of home billboards and that type of thing. And then we go down into the explore and nudge phases. So after we've raised that awareness of our audiences, this is informing them, so increasing their knowledge of the products available to them, and then nudge, trying to get them to take action. So go onto the websites and find out more information, sign up for updates and that sort of thing. So I'll now hand over to Claire Carter and she's going to go through the creative with you. Thanks, Claire.
Sorry, I've just realised I'm on mute. Can you hear me, Amanda? Yeah, fantastic. Thanks. Hi, yeah, Claire here. So I'll pick up the baton from Amanda on the creative. Thank you for moving the slide on. So yes, as Amanda sort of outlined, our research has given us a good basis for developing this unifying proposition around skills and potential, but we needed a really big creative idea to bring that all to life across what is essentially three complex audiences, and also to get the cut through that we needed in a busy sort of backdrop, a busy sort of external environment. So we needed to support, and obviously to support this idea that skills can help everyone and every business to realise their full potential. And unless they seize the moment and do something about it now, in that moment, their potential may never be realised. So through this creative, we are encouraging people to make one day today. And you know yourselves, if there was a time of day that potential owned, it would probably be the first thing in the morning when the sun's peeping over the horizon, you're waking up, you know, that day is a blank canvas, a time when anything's possible, and a small decision can decide the fate of the day. So we're using the creative, an example you'll see in front of you there, to give that sense of progression. So that sense of progression and moving and seizing the moment runs through the creative, through the use of light, emphasizing those key moments, and also the dynamic, that the way we've purchased our advertising is also sort of reinforcing that creative idea, and I'll come to that come onto that in a couple of secs. So we effectively, as Amanda was saying, the motivate, the emotional strand of this campaign, that brand building element, wants people to get that sense of excitement and motivation through the campaign tone and the creative. We want to stir something in everyone, from a 16-year-old starting out on their, or unsure about their next steps in that kind of formal education space, to a highly skilled worker, maybe 2 or 3 decades away from formal education, but it's thinking about retraining and doesn't know where to start, to an employer that's wanting to think about upskilling his workforce and how, or their workforce, and how they can do that. So it really is quite a big challenge, but also needs to speak to kind of those individual elements of the campaign through the creative. Would you move me on to the next slide, please? So what you're seeing in front of you is some further examples of campaign creative. As I said, the campaign idea draws on the power of light to inspire those that are looking at the creative, and emphasize those relatable moments of reflection and decision making that we all have in the day, those moments of pause, those moments of anxiety as we might be going into an important meeting, or if you're a young person at school, anxious about sort of where they go next, to really kind of sort of really emphasize those moments through the creative idea. And then further down the creative as well, it was a big ask of what we were doing strategically, and reflecting back on the diagram that Amanda's just shown you. We needed to showcase our occupations, our different policies, our industries that skills can unlock. And the different elements of the campaign, working through those different layers of motivate and explore, nudge, which I'll talk to you about in a second, help us to do that. As I mooted earlier on the previous slide, we have used dynamic and location-based media to show the progression of the day. That's sort of inherent in the creative idea behind it all. So what that means in reality is that we have a campaign creative that's aiming to kind of emphasize those moments in the day, those points of reflection that we could be thinking about potentially in those different ways, depending on who they are. But then we're reinforcing that through the way we buy advertising. So the campaign materials themselves show the time of day, the day of the week, the location, and even some on the adult skills campaign actually refer to the weather on the specific day and location, which I'm giggling about at the moment. Obviously, we've had rain signing off content that says it's a little bit, it's hazy and there's a light breeze. Is obviously, quite tricky when we're all experiencing quite cold weather. But basically, our assets aim to be relevant to people's motivations at that point of day, which is at the time that they see the asset. So, for example, what you're seeing in front of you, at the bottom in the middle there, it's 8:13 in the morning. If you're standing on the side of a busy road and looking at one of our billboard adverts at 8:13, that is what you're going to see back. And it really, really brings to life through the power of the creative, through the kind of media buy, how dynamic that is. That's one end of the dynamic spectrum. The other end is that you may be we're using messaging as well. So we're reminding people to think about that moment through the heading. So we might you haven't got one here, but you might sort of say, you're scrolling through social media at that point on that channel that you're looking at this creative, to kind of really land that message. And that's all kind of bringing together through the imagery, through the messaging, and through the way we're buying advertising, which is a very innovative approach for DFB in terms of marketing our skills products. You'll also notice that the imagery is including at this level, at the motivate level, beautiful landscape, and emphasising that progression of the day through the use of light. And as we move down and look at different, I'll start to look at our product ads, which a lot of you will be interested in. Well, how are you still marketing skills boot camps or multiply within this? We look at it from a slightly different perspective, but it is all hanging together under that motivate, explore, nudge strategy. Could you move me on to the next slide, please? Okay, so what you're seeing in front of you is an example of some of our social ads. And as I said just a short while ago, what you will have heard Amanda refer to the fact that our motivate strand, and what you've been seeing so far is very much kind of that broad channel, that big sort of brand marketing. What you're starting to see here is some of what we call the spotlight ads, to really starting to think, okay, we've shared those big upskilling messages. We're now starting to pique people's interest, hopefully, to find out more. And this is when you'll be served a more product specific advert, and that's more relevant and appealing. And the aim is that we're encouraging people to find out more when one of these assets are served at you. It's probably a nice point here to actually say that some of the people that you're seeing in front of you are actually real learners who are taking part, are on a technical education course that we've used in the campaign. It really, really extends the the ability to be able to use their stories. So we use a lot of their stories in paid partnership activity, in case studies, in articles, in paid partnerships and PR, but we're actually using them creatively. And that is actually a request that the Minister for Skills, Minister Robert Halfon, some of you may have met the Minister, and he's extremely invested in the campaign. And we were working closely with him during his visits to kind of identify those people and approach them to see if they'd like to take part in the campaign. So I think that's another really nice dynamic to this, that we're actually using real learners in as far as we can, not all of them, but some of them with their permission, and if they were keen, we took part in the creative the campaign. Would you move me on, please, to the next slide? Thank you. And again, just finally, here's some examples of more of our explore and nudge assets. So what you've just seen on the previous slide and this slide are examples of these product ads. You know, and depending on whether you're an adult, a young person, or an employer, you'll and on our media targeting, you'll be served an ad that is obviously nods to the main brand, but it's starting to pull out those individual product messages about individual products within the campaign, and working together with that big emotional strand where you pique people's interest. You know, and we believe that, and we know that the product ads will actually work harder when they're kind of in this ecosystem of that broader strategy. So, you know, your big brand piece, and then you explore and nudge assets to really kind of work people down the funnel and nudge them towards the new campaign site. Could you move me on to the next slide, please? So just briefly, till I pass over to my colleague Dawn, I just wanted to get a little bit more granular for a moment and sort of share with you some summaries, some highlights of our channel strategy, just so you can kind of get a sense of actually what does this mean in terms of campaign delivery and the channels that we're using. And as you can see in front of you, there is we've got lots of targeted activity that it sort of exploit the breadth of both digital and traditional media channels, alongside media partnerships, for example, that will leverage the power of other brands. And more, we can talk about that a little later. So just in terms of kind of high-level dates, the Motivate strand of the campaign went live on the 4th of January. So this is where we've got those big brand skills messaging going out, as you can see there at the top, on TV, cinema, and out of home. And there'll be your big 48-sheet billboards in key locations across England with those messages. And I'm hoping that many of you will have picked up on one or two of those in the last couple of weeks. So the idea is that we've started with that big brand push, and the team are extremely excited today because actually all our spotlight activity goes live this morning, which is we're very heavily emotionally invested across the team at DFE. So it's really exciting for us to know that some of our product ads are starting to be rolled out from today. But this burst lasts until the end of March, so very much across this sort of January to March burst. As you can see, channels will differ depending on your audience, because obviously we use a channel choice, and channel choice is dependent on the audience that we're working with. So it will be different, and I won't run through the kind of too many of the details there in front of you, but just to sort of flag that our strategy to sort of inform people. So once we've got that big brand, broad reach, emotional messaging out there on those broad reach channels, our explore strategy is very much focusing on informing people of those choices. So we've got out of home. So for example, for adults, we're moving from big billboards to bus sides and digital 6 sheets, so your transport interchanges, to kind of really maximise on the adult side, on Max's and my side, those commuting moments. And ads will be optimised at key commuting points in the day. We're using bus sides because we know that brand recall is higher amongst adults for certain types of out-of-home marketing. So it's very much roadside and transport hubs. And then other explore channels will be TV ads, radio ads, and social media. And then really kind of like, so when we've started to spotlight the benefits of policy messaging, we then got that nudge stage, which is sort of channels such as paid search, Google, being our digital display ads, which are being served at websites on kind of against core interests and core audience demographics. It goes without saying that all this paid PR, paid campaign activity is supported by what we call an ongoing drumbeat of PR, paid partnerships, and stakeholder and partner activity, organic social media, you know, leveraging awareness days in kind of key decision-making points for each of our audiences. So it's a really, really big integrated campaign. I'm going to stop there and pass to my colleague Dawn, who's going to pick up the baton in terms of a forward look. So that's what's out live at the moment, and I'll pass to Dawn for the next slide. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. So just looking at the slide here, as Claire's already flagged, our first current activity bursts running from now until the 31st of March. We've actually got budget secured for a second wave, which is great news, and that will include more TV advertising again in the new financial year, and we're just currently finalising our plans for that. Our campaign bursts, they're usually determined by key decision points for each of our target audiences. So for example, back to school moments or the start of the new year when individuals might be more inclined to start searching for training opportunities. But we think that the next TV advertising wave in particular will be in the summer. Next slide, please. So just how you can support the campaign. The call to action for the campaign is the new Skills for Careers website, and that's where all of our target audiences can find information about skills and training options. Each audience can drill down to specific product information that's relevant to their needs. So if you'd like to help amplify the campaign, we'd really like you to consider using the new website as your call to action, or you will probably really find benefit in using some of the product specific messaging that's on that site as well within your own communications. With regards to social media, supporting the campaign through social media is really quick and easy way for you to get involved. We're promoting the campaign through all of our social media channels. That includes our mainstream social media channels, our new skills support for employers channels, and also the National Career Service has its own social media channels as well. You can find all of our social media channels. They're listed on the campaign toolkit page, which we've got on .gov. And alongside that, we've also got the Skills for Life logos and the product logo lockups there as well for you to use. And I think you'll find that the link to all of those resources is in the chat. But we'd really like you to really get involved and get behind the campaign by liking and sharing our posts and using the recommended hashtags. We'll also be adding some social media assets to our toolkit page too, which you can use. And actually, if you have any other ideas of any other assets that you'll find useful, please do let us know, because we're hoping to develop and create more assets for you to use in the coming months. So it's great if you can feed in any suggestions on that. And case studies, that's another way that you can get involved as well. We find that case studies and testimonials from real learners and employers actually sharing their skills journeys, that's really the bedrock of any of our campaigns and PR activity. As Claire mentioned, our campaign features real life learners. In fact, 16 of the individuals who feature in our ads are actually real employers and learners, and stakeholders like yourselves actually helped us to source those. So we're very, very grateful to that. And we're always looking for new case study subjects who can potentially feature in our PR and communications activity. So if you do have any potential case study subjects, please let us know. There's a short form that we've developed, and again the link for that's in the chat. So if you do have any good case study subjects, please do submit them via that form. Next slide, please. So this slide just summarises really some of the main points we've already covered about how you can get involved and support the campaign. We've got brand guidelines and the relevant logos on .gov, and you don't need to contact us for any approval to use those. Please just go ahead. But if you do have any queries or anything that you need support with, please get in touch with us via email. A point to know on the course directory. The course directory can be accessed through the Skills for Careers site, and it's one of the main ways that individuals can actively take their next step and try and search for learning opportunities within their local area. So if you do have a contract with us to deliver post-16 learning opportunities, please make sure that your course offer is included in the directory, just so that it can then appear on the National Careers Service website and also the T-level website if you're delivering T-levels. Next slide, please. If you receive grant funding for 3 of our products, which are Multiply, Skills Boot Camps and Free Courses for Jobs, you will need to feature the funded by HM government logo in your communications. We've got more information for you on the slide that's been shown now, and you can see an example of that being applied to one of our previous campaigns as well. If you do need any more information about this, please get in touch via email. And again, we've posted the adult skills email address in the chat there if you've got any queries about that. Next slide, please. In terms of tracking and KPIs, the main way that we measure and track the campaign is through attitudinal surveys, which we conduct with all 3 target audiences. So we conducted baseline surveys before Christmas, and we're going to be conducting further bursts of surveys over the coming months. So the surveys, they measure recognition of the Skills for Life brand along with changes in attitudes, and actually measure action taken to engage in learning and skills development as well. So that's one of the main ways we measure. But in addition to that, we've also got KPIs to reach against each element of the campaign as well, and that includes visits to the new campaign landing page on the Skills for Careers website. And then our data as well, any data that we do get from the campaign goes into an overall tracking database, and it's actually benchmarked against other government campaigns, which collated by the Cabinet Office as well, just to ensure that we are delivering value for money. And then that just kind of wraps up my slide. I'd like to just pass over to Sophie Shepherd.
Thanks, Dawn, and thanks for having me today. It's really exciting to get the opportunity to show you a bit more of the Skills for Careers website. So I'm going to give you a tiny bit of background and then attempt something possibly quite dangerous on a webinar, but to demonstrate that website. So we'll see if I can pull that off without any technical glitches. But Skills for Careers is our new website, launched back in October last year. To provide a front door to skills and careers information. So you'll see this kind of quite busy image over on the left-hand side of the screen. This is a kind of depiction of some of the tools and products and services that are available in that kind of broader skills and careers landscape at the moment. So there's obviously a lot of really great products and information out there. Lots of it you'll be quite familiar with and your learners might have encountered too. But there's quite a lot, and if you're kind of less familiar with the landscape, trying to kind of move your way around it, that can be quite daunting. So what we've tried to do is to kind of bring together key information into our kind of new front door website, Skills for Careers. That doesn't replace any of the existing information, it kind of sits alongside it, but just helps to kind of point people quite quickly and easily to the content that they might be looking for to achieve kind of whatever it is that they need to achieve, whether that's putting together a CV or applying for a job and how to fill in that application form, or just some kind of higher level information to understand maybe what the difference is between a T-level or an apprenticeship or a HTQ and so on. So the site came out of a really extensive user research. So talking to users, what they told us was that the landscape could just be quite confusing because there was quite a lot out there. And that they would really value a kind of single place that they could go to. And most of them, kind of in the research said that they use digital resources primarily when conducting their search. So they were looking for websites and things like that. And lots of them said that they would really value a single website where they could go and know that the information there was kind of government assured, and they could rely on it, and that would kind of act as a sort of starting point and the information they needed to get their journey going, whether they were young people starting out or whether they were adults kind of maybe looking for a career change, and so on. So that's kind of the basic behind the scenes thinking on it. And I'm just going to try to stop showing the slides now and just bring up the website and just walk you through a few of the things that we can see on the website. Just bear with me a second. Great. I think that's worked. Someone shout me if not, otherwise I'll keep rattling on. So this is the homepage for the new site. You'll see actually right down here at the bottom, we've got the Skills for Life tile. So this takes you through to the campaign landing page. So you'll see actually some of the kind of creative is quite familiar there from the examples that Claire showed you earlier in today's session. So some people will obviously arrive straight to this landing page for the campaign because they'll have picked up the link from all of the advertising and media and so on. Others might happen to find it more kind of organically on Google and so on, and they might then arrive at the kind of main landing page. But ultimately, regardless of where they kind of enter the website, it's all designed to be non-duplicative. So content's just there once. So you'll see that we've got a couple of tiles here. These are kind of user journeys. So there's a young people and adults one. But if you're on the campaign page, you get the same thing, young people and adults, just slightly different imagery, but then they all link back into the same place. So it's nice and kind of simple to use, coordinated, and you're not kind of wondering what the difference is between the different information. So what I might do is show you one of these journeys as an example. So this is the young person journey. The adult journey looks quite similar, but the content's a bit more tailored to the things that adults might be looking for compared to young people. So what you've got in here then is kind of three next steps in the user journey. So you've got the opportunity, and I'm going to start at the bottom because I want to say a bit more about the first tile, so I'll work my way up. So you've got sort of page of content here with career ideas. So what this does is it doesn't provide huge amounts of new information. What it does is direct you to some of the great resources that are already out there in places like the National Careers Service website. So there's sort of there's things like their career assessment tool and their job profiles, but also there's other kind of content that you can link out to from there about labour market information. So understanding what those choices that you're making might mean for your broader career. If I just go back up a level, you've then got the help and advice component of the journey. So there's things on there like CV help, application advice, sort of support with funding and learning costs and so on. And again, these all link off to existing sources of information, as well as there being a couple of extra sources of support there for people who might need to talk to someone. And then I will go back up one level and then into the training options page. So what this gives you here is a really nice kind of high level overview of the different options available to you. There's some easy to use filters that allow you to kind of tell us a little bit of information about the qualification you want to earn, your age, whether you want to kind of work and study together or just study and learn, so kind of more like full-time type courses. And if you, so let's say I was 16 and I wanted a level 1 or a 2, I could apply my filters. So that will then sort those options so I can see those that are most relevant to me. So I've got apprenticeships and I've got VTQs coming up as an option. So if I click through, what I get is then a high level summary of those options and then links out to kind of more detailed information on some of our other some of our other platforms and some of our other tools. So the kind of adult journey works in the same way. And then if I just jump back to the home page again, you'll see that we've also got a few journeys curated here for intermediaries, so those supporting adults and young people in their career journey. So there's an area for teachers, for parents, and for careers advisors, and then a link off to the employer website, which has got the sort of same information about the different schemes available, but from a kind of employer perspective. So just to show you the careers advisor one, it works all in quite a similar way, and just signposts different groups off to the information that will be most relevant for them to support them. So I think that is all of the key stuff. And if I wrap up now, that gives us 5 minutes for questions. So I think I'll pause there.
Thanks, Sophie, and great to see that demonstration as well. Some great functionality there that's come through as a result of user testing, which is brilliant to see. So I think there's one question that we haven't answered. So Claire's got a slide, skills bootcamps, campaign assets for the explore and nudge phase. But Claire, while you're sharing that, if I can just say a massive thank you to everyone for joining today's webinar. We hope you found it useful. In the meeting chat, you'll find all the links to the Skills for Careers website, the stakeholder toolkits, the social media accounts, and the email address for any specific branding queries, which is adult.skills@education.gov.uk. So yeah, thank you for your time. And Claire, if you just want to highlight the skills bootcamp stuff.
Yeah, can you see that on my screen?
Yeah, it's a bit small, but I think people will get the gist.
Okay, sorry, it's larger on mine. You never know how you probably see it at a small scale. I mean, this was to answer one of the questions in the chat. And just to be really, really clear, this is just the activity for skills bootcamps. There is a slide like this for every product that we've got, but it will give you a sense of how things are breaking down. So just for those that are interested in marketing skills bootcamps, but as I say, I can't emphasize enough, this is the type of activity that would be reflected across every policy within the campaign because of that breadth and what we're trying to bring together in this ecosystem. So for skills bootcamps specifically, they are marketed at the moment at adults and employers because of their eligibility criteria. We've sort of pulled this slide together and sort of dissected it by motivate, explore and nudge. So they're both benefiting from this broad reach campaign material. As you move down into explore, you can see that we've got different skills bootcamp ads for adults and different messaging for employers, as you would expect to see, and also a cut down of our main film. So each audience strand has their own audience film. So as well as the lovely 40-second film that you have seen, we have 3 20-second versions that are being served on video on demand channels, and they're different for each of our audiences. So there you can see the lovely actress Praveen that was in our film for adults. This is our adult learner, and there's a clip of our employer in the employer film and our lovely Benjamin in the young person's film. And then just moving down, you can see the social ads, the skills bootcamps, and also the digital display ads. And it's the same for employers. Obviously, the channels will vary. For those of you that do any regional audio advertising, our targeting for adults, for example, is 25 to 44-year-olds, which is why you will see the likes of radio stations such as Kiss and Heart, because that's our targeting for learners. And we're using a mix of digital and linear advertising, as I said earlier. So you'll see that we've got podcast providers on there because podcasts are still indexing really highly since pandemic in terms of that consumptions. They're really popular and they work really well for the campaign. And that's supported by social. We have specific social media channels for each audience. Again, it's all nuanced in terms of what's right for the audience, and Google and Bing searches. Bing for adults again reflects that slightly older demographic and the desire to still use Bing, but predominantly Google. So that just gives you a flavour of the type of activity. We've obviously got over 150 assets across the campaign. This is just a flavour, but it gives you an example of one product I think it's useful to kind of see for one product and how they extend across the campaign. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Amanda, I don't know if there's any further questions or we can wrap up at that point.
So Sophie's answered one about accessibility to young people with SEND. So there's a response in the chat for that one. And then there's just one further question from Sean. Do you tend to share much organically when tagged? Beatrice, I don't know if, or Dawn, I don't know if you want to come in on that one.
Yeah, I can jump on. Yeah, whenever we see the tags, we will try and share and amplify as much as possible. This could be on our apprenticeships LinkedIn or apprenticeships Twitter, or now known as X channels. We also have our skill support for employer channels, which were officially launched in October. So we make sure that we monitor all our channels and obviously like any comments to the campaign content, and we'll amplify where we can. So yeah, feel free to share. Feel free to use the hashtag as well. Hashtag it all starts with skills and hashtag skills for life, because we will definitely be monitoring both.
Fantastic. Thank you. So it just remains for me to reiterate, thank you for taking the time out of your day today. We do really appreciate you joining and hopefully see lots of activity on your own channels, supporting Skills for Life. And we'll send out the slide deck and a recording within the next couple of days, possibly early next week. But thank you once again and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.